Hi, I'm Joe Mathews, CEO of Franchise Performance Group. Today I'm with Brian Sanders, CEO of I9 Sports. So we talked about its experiential concept, like for the kids, the I9 youth experience.
Yes.
Tell me about the I9 parent experience.
Well, simply put, for the parent, it's really all about convenience because we have dual income families and we have single family or single parent households where they're so stretched in all the things they're trying to do. So we want to make it as convenient and frictionless as possible.
So we got a convenience play?
Yes.
What else?
So we have a convenience play, and then on top of that, we have a cultural piece. So a lot of the reasons that moms particularly are attracted to our model is that we do make it about the overall feeling at the field. So what I mean by that is we were the first national youth sports organization to implement a parental pledge. And we learned early on that if you're gonna control or create a really healthy experience on the field, you have to manage the experience in the stands. And so to do that, we started by setting the expectations with the parents. So we have a parental pledge that every parent is required to sign off on or acknowledge when they sign up their child or register their child. And it simply says, I as a parent understand the number one reason my child is signed up in this program is to have fun, and that I'm going to exhibit the same kind of good sportsmanship-like behavior in the stands as I would expect of my child and others on the field. And it works like magic. Everybody gets emotional, and particularly when it's your child on the field who may be scoring or not scoring, as the case may be. And so when emotions get a little bit out of hand, it's a wonderful tool to be able to go back to the parent offline. We don't want to embarrass anybody and say, hey, you remember that parental pledge that you signed? And they go, oh yeah. You can literally feel the difference. It's just a different energy level in our fields.
That's interesting because parents sometimes can ruin the experience for the kids.
Absolutely.
Right? Anybody's ever enrolled their kids.
Well, the kids take the cues from the parents.
Yeah.
And so if they see their parents doing that kind of thing, then they're going to do the same thing. And it works in a positive way in the reverse. So if they see their parents behaving, they're going to do the same thing.
Yeah, I love the fact that you're rolling the values piece in, not just on the kids' side, right? Because that could be undone.
Right.
The parents side, but you're actually layering it on the
well, I think that's another benefit of the program is that, certainly we want to instruct the kids on the fundamentals of the game, but we also want to give them character building points, things that they can take with them off the field, off the court, into life. And so each week we have a sportsmanship value that we emphasize, and we make a point of emphasizing the child that best exemplifies that week's character value and award a medal for that. So.
I got to assume that a lot of people get into the business, right? Because they want to make a difference in the lives of kids. So is that altruism driver too, right? So the values piece must be.
It's a huge part of it, and our model is one that attracts a broad swath of people because kids and sports. I mean, it's kind of hard not to get excited about that. However, one of the things that we really emphasize is that this really is a serious business. And so anybody that is coming to us because they may have that passion for kids and sports, we want to make sure that they're looking at this as a business opportunity and not an opportunity to coach.
Yeah, or some ministry.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. Although it does have an altruism motive.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. And again, our mission is truly to help kids succeed in life through sports. So that is the why that drives what we do, but we've wrapped the business model around it.
So Brian, you talked about the business of youth sports. So let's drill down there. You've got personally, you've got an executive level consumer products and direct marketing background. So let's start on the marketing level, right? So we know who the customer is. It's the youth, okay, or the mom, right? So I'm assuming the mom's the purchaser, right?
For our age group, because we're really servicing kids age 3 through 14. So certainly for 3/4 of that, mom is really the driver of the decisions. Kids get a little bit older, then they're going to have an influence in that decision. But mom is primarily the one we're marketing to.
So how do you reach them?
A lot of different ways. So we marry the effort made by the franchise owner at the local level, and the kinds of marketing they would do would be looking for businesses that cater to moms and kids. So it could be going to daycare centers for the real young kids, could be doctor's offices, could be street fairs.
You're talking about low-cost guerrilla marketing
real
stuff,
Real low
right?
cost, yeah. It's up and down the street kind of thing. So it takes a little bit of elbow grease to get out and do it, but not very expensive.
So you don't need to incur high TV, radio, media
no,
fees,
exactly.
Okay.
And the other thing is because it is somewhat of a perpetual marketing model where you're wanting to stay out in front of moms. There's a heavy social component of this. Moms, where are moms? They're on Facebook, right? Social media. They love to tell other moms about the experience they're having. So we have a big play in social media, and that is done now in tandem with the franchise owners. So we drive a good portion of that from the national headquarters, but work with the local owners to respond to posts by moms.
I mean, given what you're doing, I could see a real kind of almost like a raving fan customer base.
Absolutely.
Right, that can go viral and spiral.
Very much so. I mean, there's a really fun thing that happens in our business because it is word of mouth. It spins. So you have this flywheel effect where a mom may come in, once she sees what kind of an experience we provide, she's going to tell other people. We know
siblings, right?
Well, they got siblings, exactly. If you get one child, you're going to get the other child, typically, or the other siblings. So there's this exponential building effect that goes on. So as a franchise owner comes into the system, really makes that initial marketing effort, then there's a tipping point, and the business just kind of tips over and feeds itself.
Yeah,
now,
so it's not a perpetual grind.
No, it isn't.
Right? Yeah.
It isn't. Now, not to say you don't have to work hard at the market initially, but it does get easier over time as it builds.
Well, what business do you not have to work hard in initially? That's a business I would want to know about, right? Yeah. So once you hit the tipping point, it self-perpetuates. Which you would hope a good marketing program does.
That's
right. Let's continue down the revenue model. So you've got the initial enrollees, the first sport. What other lines of revenue do you have?
Good. So we talk about one of the major avenues is league fees. So the league fees actually are not just from leagues; they could also be from camps, clinics, and some after-school programs.
Got it. Okay. So multiple offerings.
So that's where a lot of the revenue comes from. But on top of that, you have revenue that's generated from merchandise that's sold at the field, and also from sponsorships that they might have from local other businesses, so car dealerships or others that are very interested. I mean, we've got a golden demographic, families with kids.
Right.
So who doesn't want to be part of that? And a very healthy value proposition.
And local.
Yeah, we do good things, right? So they want to be part of that.
And no, it's not a one-sport model either, right?
No, it isn't. It isn't. So not only do we have the ability to bring a child in at a certain age group. So let's say a child comes in at age 3. A lot of our players do come in. We might be the first sports experience for them. So they come in at age 3, and again, we've got that lifetime value of essentially 12 years, age 3 to age 14. So within that age span, we have the ability to move them from sport to sport. So they could come in soccer, they could go to flag football, basketball, t-ball, lacrosse. And again, you've got the sibling effect as well.
Yeah, so you got guerrilla marketing, get them in once, right? And then all the efficiencies kick in if you deliver on the experiential side, right? You get the re-ups, you get the siblings, you get multiple sports.
That's right.
You've got multiple years, long lifetime, long runway as far as lifetime value of the customer.
Absolutely.
Excellent. The other thing I thought was really unique about your model when I dug into it, it was the labor model.
Yes.
I don't think I've ever seen a business that the majority of the labor is like volunteer.
That's the wonderful thing about this model is the cost structure. The cost structure, I mean, first of all, we're a work from home business, so you don't have the overhead of a physical brick and mortar entity.
When you say work from home, but they got to get out into the community.
They do. You're
you're
not. First of all, you're not holding the events in your backyard.
Right. It's got to be a really big backyard.
Exactly.
Okay.
But you don't have the overhead of having to have an office. You don't have to own any real estate, so you're not looking to own
bricks and mortar
field or a court or what have you. So that overhead is low. But to the labor issue specifically, you don't have ongoing labor costs outside of when you're running programs. What I mean by that is our typical seasonal program runs 7 to 8 weeks long. So what you're doing is you are hiring in part-time labor to work for that 7 or 8 week period.
And who's that part-time labor?
That would be a site manager or a site coordinator, and then in addition, sport coordinator. So those people would be hired part-time people, and then you've got a large force of volunteers. So our coaches are all volunteer coaches. So those people are coming because they believe in the mission and the value of what we provide, and not expecting to be compensated for it. So the labor overhead
which would be the biggest component.
Low. Oh, it absolutely is. It absolutely is.
And then referees.
Referees are paid, and those can be employed either directly by the franchise owner, him or herself, or tapped into through a referee association.
So scaling really must be easy, right?
It absolutely is. One of the really great things about our model is that we have built into what we're awarding to a franchise the ability to put up multiple locations within a single territory. So franchise is basically owning a single franchise unit, but is going to operate it as if it were multiple units. So if you were a McDonald's franchise owner, you've got a brick and mortar location on the corner of 2nd and Oak Street.
Right.
In our model, you're going to put up multiple, what we call venues, but playing locations. So the owner scales by operating multiple sports, multiple seasons throughout the year, and scales this up by getting results through other people with very low overhead. And one other point I want to make about that is that in our model, because it is not a heavy inventory model, you're not taking on all kinds of costs before you get the revenue. You're taking registration fees typically 2 to 3 months before the season ever starts.
So you're not getting involved in accounts receivables, bad debt collections?
It's so easy and straightforward in that
wow.
regard. So you're taking the income, the costs come later as you get closer to season, and so the cash flow of this model is very simple. Now,
Yeah, and matter of fact, actually the costs are incurred once the revenue is collected too, right? So you're just paying out the money the parents
right, with the
have already
exception of
given you.
marketing, because you're going to be doing that in advance.
Which
but-
is low-cost guerrilla marketing,
Right.
as a general rule.
Exactly.
So it's fairly low cost to scale too.
It's
Wow.
very low overhead. Very low overhead.
So what are some of the limiting factors of the business? What
Well,
do you
I think
see?
the limiting factors, first, and this is a fun story. So every year we do what we call our annual network survey. So it's a comprehensive, kind of 72 questions that we ask our franchise owners, and it's very thorough because we honestly want to know what's working, where we have room for opportunity and improvement. But one of the questions we always ask is, what is standing in your way as a franchise owner of Vineland Sports to achieving your goals? And for the past 3 or 4 years, one of the top answers is myself. So one of the limiting factors is themselves.
Yeah, individual capacity.
The individual capacities. How big do I want this to be? How much effort do I want to put into this? And I think in any business, the harder you work, the more you're going to get out of it. But that is so true in our business model.
So how many kids play youth sports? How big is the available market?
So right now, 42 million kids is the figure that you see published. So it's a lot of kids, and one of the wonderful things about this is every year, they're going to be a whole new batch of 3-year-olds
Self-replenishing, yeah.
that have not lined up into any other sport activity. And if we can get them into our system first, you got 12 years where you can really service that lifetime of that individual child.
Yeah, talk to me about what you see. Look out long. Tell me about the long-term sustainability of the model. Who are your oldest franchisees, and what are they doing?
So our typical franchise agreement is a 10-year agreement, and we happen to have been at this long enough now where we have franchisees who have gone through that initial 10 years and come back to renew, and that is the typical for our franchise owners. They love what they do, they have been successful doing what they do with us, and they've wanted to re-up. So in terms of sustainability, this is a model that isn't going anywhere. It just keeps getting better because we're gleaning the best practices from those experienced franchise owners and feeding it back into the system so it gets easier for them to run. So I talked earlier about wanting to make the experience as frictionless for the mom as we can, or the dad. We want to do the same thing for our franchise owners. So the easier it is for our franchisees to do what they do in providing that experience, the more easily they can scale, the better the result, and the more successful we all are.